Okay, so this is the brake caliper we're looking at. We have the two caliper arms which are pulled together by the pull of the cable from the brake lever to push the brake blocks into the rim. We're going to be looking at 5 proprietary components: the bolt, which holds the whole caliper together, the nuts, both ends, and a lock nut, the washer in between the two caliper arms, the spacers, and of course the cables. The bolt itself runs centrally through the whole thing. It is a non-permanent fixing, which means that it can be taken apart for maintenance and repairs. It's secure so that nothing's going to fall apart, and it keeps it all in line along a central axis so that it's able to be held securely but still move. Bad points about it: obviously it is a long bolt and it does add weight, and all bolts and nuts have a tendency to rattle loose over time. Okay, so there are things that are done on here to stop that from happening. To reduce the weight, the bolts in the example we're looking at are made of titanium, which is a lighter weight material but still has high tensile strength. The nut at each end is a way of securing everything to that bolt. Okay, and we're particularly looking at this arrangement, which is what's called a lock nut. 2 nuts right next to each other so that one can be tightened against the other. So when you tighten this end nut, it doesn't put loads and loads and loads of tension on the bit that needs to move. The tension is absorbed by the lock nut, stops it from falling apart, but stops it from being so tightly secured that the caliper arms won't move anymore. Tension can be adjusted so that you can choose how secure and how hard you have tightened that up. Bad points about it: obviously it can be over tightened, so it does require some skill to set up, and as I said, vibrations can loosen it. At this end we have what's called a nylock nut. This is a nylock nut, which means that it has a little nylon insert on the inside which stops that nut from becoming loose. Nylock nut. This little black bit is just to stop the kids hurting themselves on it. Washer. So the main washer we're looking at here is this, which is a nylon washer. There are steel washers. This is a washer here, but we're mainly looking at the nylon washer. Ordinary steel washers are there to transfer the load of the nut so that it's not digging into the surface of the material. The nylon washer is there for that reason too, but the main reason it's there, it creates a little bit of space, but nylon is a low friction material, which means that parts are able to move against each other and rub against each other without there being so much friction that it gets jammed up. Okay, so it spreads the load and it's low friction. Bad points about it: it is really soft, so it could get damaged if you tighten it up wrong or set it up wrong. And eventually, because there are things rubbing against each other, it will wear out. That's it for washer. 2 components left. We have spacers. These spacers are here to create a space between the forks or the frame of the bike here and the caliper here. If the caliper was fixed directly onto the forks, it would crash into the side forks and it would prevent it from moving. So we need an additional gap between the frame and the caliper, which is what these spacers are there for. We have a standard cylindrical spacer that's there to just bring it out a little bit further, and we have a spacer with a curved face. You can't see it very well there, but there's a curved face there so that it matches the exact same shape of the forks. Okay, so that enables the caliper to work. It ensures a secure fit against the frame, but of course it adds extra weight. Okay, it would be more lightweight without these, but obviously it wouldn't work. And putting those spacers on does require that we need a longer bolt, which obviously adds to the weight. Finally, we're nearly there. The cable. We have a cable. The end is covered in a little cap to stop it fraying. That's a bad point about the cable straight away. The ends, if they're not secured, can fray and get worn out, but they can also, hurt the kids or the users of the bike because it can scratch them. The inner cable is made out of steel, and that is under tension from the brake lever. The outer cable is made out of plastic, and that's under compression, so the outer cable doesn't get squashed, and the inner cable, the steel, can slide through it. It transfers the tension from the lever to the caliper. It's a standard fit proprietary component, which means that you do not have to get the special brake cable which fits this particular bike. It's a pretty standard cable which can be bought from any cycle repair shop. Bad points about it, we've mentioned the fraying at the end, but the main thing is the steel cable will stretch over time. Because it's under tension, it stretches, which is why it's got this adjuster bolt here, to be able to adjust it to take into account that tension has stretched the cable. So there you have it. That's our caliper. Bolt, nuts including lock nut, washer, spacer and cable. You need good points, bad points. You need to explain what they do and why. You need to explain why they have been chosen for this bike. Show your understanding.